YouTube. So today I'm going to show you how to crochet this velvet face mask. It's really soft and comfortable, as well as really lightweight, so it's perfect if you have to wear it out all day. There is also an option to sew on a cotton fabric backing so that you can add a filter, so stay tuned. Okay, so for today's project, we're gonna need quite a few materials, but that's only gonna be if you're also wanting to do the cotton fabric backing. If you just wanna do the face mask without the backing, because again, that is optional, you're only gonna need 3 materials, which is gonna be your yarn. We'll be using velvet yarn, of course. This is Bernat Velvet, and it is a bulky weight 5 yarn. And the color specifically is Burgundy Plum. The hook size that we are going to be using is going to be a 3.5 millimeter hook. And I know that that's pretty small with considering the fact that we're using bulky yarn, but the reason that we're going to be using such a small hook is so that the stitches are super tight, so that you can't see through them. If you pull it apart, you can barely even fit your finger through it. That's how we want it, so that the face mask is really tight and provides you with good coverage, even if you decide not to do that cotton fabric backing. Now, you'll also need a pair of scissors. Other than that, if you do choose to do the fabric backing, what you will need is, of course, fabric. I'm going to be using this black cotton fabric. You'll also need some thread. Any color is fine. You'll need a sewing needle so that we can sew the fabric onto the mask itself. I'm going to be using this needle. It's a little bit bigger. I prefer bigger needles just because I have the most difficult time trying to get the thread into that top hole there, so the bigger the better for me. You'll need a pencil, a pen, marker, anything that you can write with, a writing instrument. You'll also need a piece of cardstock or a piece of paper. We'll be tracing a template on here, so that's why we're going to need a piece of paper. You'll also need, these are going to be what I use for my filters, so anything you want to use for your filter. I'm just going to be using coffin filters just because I have them available in my house and they're fairly cheap. So with these, since they are, you can replace them, it just is more ideal since you can buy a big pack of them and they're fairly cheap. So what you'll do, once we do have that cotton fabric backing, we'll be folding it like that, sticking it inside the pocket that we'll be creating, and then we'll have a filter for our masks. And then last but not least, you will be needing a iron, hair straightener, some source of heat like that, so that we can use that for when we do make our cotton backing. And those are all the materials you'll be using, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so first things first, we're gonna go ahead and, as with any other project, start with our slip knot. The sizing for this mask is gonna be I would say a universal size. It's gonna fit your average adult. So an average adult size is what we're making, male or female. In my experience, it fits both, so it'll be just a universal adult size. So once we have our slip knot, we'll go ahead and put our hook inside, and we're gonna go ahead and chain 11. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So here we have 11. We're gonna go ahead and block off or hold that last stitch that we just did and chain 1 more for height. And then we're gonna go ahead and, just put your hook inside that stitch that you were holding off, or the second stitch from the hook. And then you're gonna do a single crochet. So our stitches throughout this whole project are gonna be single crochets. So you put 1 single crochet in the second chain from your hook, or that chain that you were blocking off, which should have been the 11th stitch. and then you're going to go back down on the chain with single crochets. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then one more will make 11. So here we have our 11 single crochets, and this right here is going to be the beginning of our face mask. So now we're going to go ahead and for row 2, chain 1 for height, turn your work, and then we're going to do the same exact thing that we just did. So 1 single crochet in each, and we're going to do that for a total of 5 rows, which means that we're going to do 4 more as we already have 1. So again, you're going to do 4 more rows of single crochet, which will give you 5 in total. So I'm going to go ahead and speed this up, and then I'll meet you back once we are done with those 5 single crochet rows. Alright, so we now have our 5 rows of 11 single crochets. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to start increasing. So to do that, we're going to go ahead and chain 1, turn our work, and then in this very first stitch, we're going to put 2 single crochets. So 1, 2. Again, in that very first stitch. And then you're just going to continue on through the row as normal, so just put 1 in every of the remaining stitches. So in total, you should have 12. Just keep going down the row here. And again, this is going to start to create our increase that we're going to need to for that nose cover portion of the mask. Okay, so we're at the end of the row here. And then there we have, you can kind of start to see it, that it's increasing. For row 7, what we're gonna do is chain 1, turn our work. Now, we're only gonna be increasing when we get to this side because we want this to go up and down because that'll be the nose portion. But this, which is going to go across the bottom of our faces, we want it to stay straight. So we don't want to do any increases or decreases on this side. So we're going to chain 1, turn our work, and then we're just going to crochet 1 single crochet through each stitch. No increases, no nothing, just keep it simple, just 1 in each. And it should be, when you get to the end, it should be a total of 12. Let's just keep going. Here we go. For me, and then this is going to be 11, and then I have 1 more, and that makes 12. All right, so that was row 7. Row 8, we're going to chain 1, turn our work, and since we are on the top part, we're going to increase again. So we're going to put 2, I always lose my hook when I do that stitch. So we're going to put 2 single crochets in that first one, And then same thing, just keep working our way down. Now since we added 1, by the time we get to the end of this row, we should have a total of 13 single crochets. So that'll be the amount that we have this time, again, because we are just adding 1 every other row, should I say. Okay, and then here's 13. And then since we're at the end of our row here, and we're on this end of the mask, we're going to just chain 1, flip our work, no increase. Just keep it simple and do 1 single crochet in each stitch. And again, this should give you a total of 13. Now you're going to continue this pattern where you do 2 single crochets in the first stitch, and then you do 1 row of no increase, and you're going to keep doing it until you have 17 stitches total. So 17 single crochets total. Here we go. See, you can start to kind of see the mask taking its shape. So since we are on the increasing side of the mask, we're going to put 2 in this first space. And then we're going to go ahead and continue on, same thing, single crochets. And again, you're going to keep doing this until you have, or you count 17 single crochets total. Once you do that, so once you do the increasing row of single crochets and it reaches 17, by the time you get to the end, I'll go ahead and meet you there and we will continue on with the next rows together. Okay, so we are now reaching the end of what is actually going to be row 16, and that's going to be the row that gives us 17 single crochets going down. So you can see definitely now that it's taking form. So yeah, let's go ahead and this is going to be the row again, 17 single crochets, and we are ending so that we can all be on the same page as far as making sure that we end on the straight side. So once we're here, what we're going to do is chain 1, flip our work, and we're just going to do 1 single crochet all the way back up. This will again give us 17 total. If you are counting your stitches, that's how much you should, or how many, I'm sorry, you should have. This is where we are now starting to reach the middle of our mask. So this is going to be the portion that will go over your nose. If you're making the mask and you're noticing that, you know, it's too short or it's not reaching your nose, or that you need to make it longer, you can definitely do that at this next step that I'm about to show you now. So we are now putting in our 17th. So what we're gonna do, oh, actually I have one more. So what we're gonna do now, instead of increasing, as we are normally on the increase side, we're just gonna keep it the same. So we're gonna do another row of 17. And again, this is gonna be the row. If you need to, you can add as many as you want of these 17 rows before you start decreasing to make the mask itself longer or to give you more coverage. So I only needed one. And again, like I was telling you guys, I have had a few people try this mask on, and this size does seem to fit, male or female. So it works for me. But again, if you need more than just this one row of 17, make sure that you do add them now before we start our decreases so that everything is still symmetrical. All right, so I'm nearing the end of my row here. If you do add more rows, you're gonna wanna make sure that you don't just add one, that you're gonna wanna add an odd number. So we're gonna wanna end here because we're gonna start decreasing now, and we're gonna start decreasing when we get to the end of the row instead of the beginning. So make sure that once you're ready to decrease and you're on the row that's gonna need the decreases, that you're starting on the straight side instead of on the curving side, if that makes sense. So chain one, flip your work. And again, we are going to start decreasing now. This, for anyone who is taking note of the row numbers, is gonna be row 19. So we're gonna chain one, turn our work, and we're just gonna do one single crochet throughout the row as normal. So just like this. The only difference is again, now we are going to start decreasing instead of increasing so that we can achieve the mask shape. So you're gonna just put in one single crochet throughout. And then once you get to the end of the row, you're going to decrease the last two stitches. You'll go ahead and combine them together. I know that everyone decreases differently. This is just how I do it. If you do it a different way, that's completely fine. How I decrease though is I put my hook in my yarn up or pull through, yarn up, and then you're gonna put it in the next one without pulling through, So you put it in, pull the yarn through, don't yarn over yet, put it in your next hook or your next hole, and you're gonna pull through both of them. And that'll start to give you your decrease. So once we do that, we're gonna chain one, and we're gonna keep just decreasing now every other row, just like we did when we were increasing. So for this row, we're not gonna do any decreases. We're just gonna chain one, flip our work, and then do a single crochet in every single stitch all the way down. This should be giving you a total number of 16 stitches if you are counting them, 16 single crochets if you are counting them. And there we go. I have two more left. Okay, 16. Now we're gonna go ahead and chain one, flip our work, and this is gonna be our decreasing row, but we're not gonna decrease until we get to the end of the row. So just single crochet as normal, because again, remember, we do decrease, a row of decrease, a row where you don't decrease, and then a row where you decrease. Again, that's going to be the pattern that we're following. for these next few rows here. So just keep doing your single crochets. Now when you get to the end of the row and you notice that there is 2 stitches left, what you'll go ahead and do is do your decrease, pull through, and then we have another decrease. So you're going to keep doing that same pattern over and over again, and then you're going to do it until you only have 11 remaining, and then we will meet at that point in time. So I'm on my last row here, and I am just about to do my last decrease. So this is going to be my 11th stitch there. So I ended on the row with the increases and decreases, so the top of the mask here. So once you do that, so once you do your decrease and you have 11 total, what we're gonna do is, if you can remember, we did start with 11 stitches at the beginning. So we're just gonna start ending this off here, or doing the last few set of rows. So since that was just an 11 single crochet row, the last one that you just did, you're gonna do 4 more so that there is a total of 5, because remember we did 5 single crochet rows on the other side that were with 11 stitches. So do 4 more of these, no increases, no decreases, nothing, just straightforward single crochet rows. Make sure that there is 11 so that they are equal to the other side, so that everything is symmetrical. Once you get to the end of the row, just like before, you're going to chain your 1 and you're going to turn your work. So I'm on my 3rd one now. I did have someone ask me the other day if this mask made you hot just because it is velvet. I don't think so. Like, I wore it out yesterday and I was outside most of the day and it didn't make me feel hot or uncomfortable or anything. I honestly would say it was quite the opposite. I was very comfortable. The velvet is just really soft, so it's a nice material to have against your skin, I would say. Other than that, you can add that cotton fabric so you can, you know, have that to breathe on instead of just the velvet. But to answer that question, no, it didn't feel hot at all. I honestly forgot that it was on my face, so no complaints in that area as far as comfortability or heat goes. And I live in Florida, so it's definitely hot here. But yeah, no complaints regarding that. I thought that it was a very comfortable mask. I wanted to make anything I could out of velvet yarn, just because while it is expensive per skein, so one of these skeins will go for about $8, $9, $10. they're worth it to me because it's just such a nice thing to crochet with and be able to crochet things out of. All right, so I am getting to the end of my row here. I'd have 2 more. So 1, 2, and that makes 11. So here we have our mask. Now what we're gonna do now is, I like doing this on no matter what my projects are. This is gonna be something that I always make sure that I do. And it's going to be to go around with a single crochet just to make it look cleaner. That's very important to me. Just gives it a nicer overall look. But before we do that, we're going to go ahead and start by making the straps that are going to go around our ears. So in order to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to chain 35. 13. Okay, I'm almost done. Sorry guys, I can't talking count at the same time, so if I'm quiet, that's why. My apologies. Okay, so we did 35. So again, this is going to be our strap to go around our ear. Now, same thing I was saying with the middle part as when I was saying if you needed to add rows, you could. Same thing with this. If you need it to be longer, you can make it longer. Again, in my experience, this is the perfect amount no matter what size I'm making it or what size I'm making it for. So 35 works for me. If you need more, if you need less, that's fine. But once you have your chains here, you're going to go ahead and slip stitch it to the bottom of that same row. So just slip stitch it to the bottom of the row. And then to make it thicker, because obviously this is super thin, we're going to go ahead and go back on that chain of 35 or whatever your number is with a single crochet. So I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm just going to go back on this row with a single crochet. So I'll speed this part up, but just make sure that you do hit every single chain that you did and go back on it with a single crochet, and then I'll meet you guys once we're done with that. Alright, so I am done now with my single crochets on the ear wraparound part. So next thing we're going to do is just work a single crochet all the way up and down in the that part of the face mask. So there's not going to be any specific stitches to work in, so just go ahead and insert your hook as close as you think you can find the next space to insert your hook. Again, this is just going to go ahead and create a cleaner look overall for the mask. So just keep going. Now we're going down here, and then once we reach the bottom, what we're gonna do is the same thing that we did on the other side as far as the ear straps go. So we're going to go ahead and I'm almost there. I'm gonna put 2 more. Make sure I get all the way to the corner. Okay. So once we get to the end, what we're gonna do is chain that same 35. So let me go ahead and chain that. Sixteen, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. You don't need to make these stitches that tight. I'm normally a very tight crocheter, so my stitches are always super tight. You don't need to do it that tight with this part, just because it gets a little bit hard to find the stitches if you do it super tight. So just do it normally. All right, so now what we're gonna do is, just like with the other side, we're gonna attach it to the end of that row. Now, because we're going to have to eventually single crochet the bottom, since we haven't yet, what we're gonna do is chain 1 like we did on the other side, and then we're gonna go on this chain with our single crochets, and just start by single crocheting your ear strap here, just like we did on the other side, and then I will meet you once we are done with that. See, I am now done with my ear strap here, going through it with a single crochet, so now they do look similar. So the next thing that we're going to do, since we obviously don't need to go over the top part with a single crochet again, since we already did that, what we're going to do instead is single crochet our way down this side right here, the shorter side, so that we can end up at this point, and then we're going to single crochet that way. So just take your yarn, and again, you're just going to single crochet your way down. Just like so. Now with me, I hate weaving ends in. It's honestly my least favorite part of crocheting for some reason. It's just, I just don't like doing it. So anytime I have the chance to hide any of my tails or my ends with me just crocheting over it, I'll definitely take advantage of that. So that's what I'm doing right now. If you can tell, I'm making sure that I crochet over the tail so that it can be hidden within my work instead of me having to weave in at the end. So we're almost to the bottom of this row. I will have to cut that little piece, but that's fine, I'll do that later. Okay, so we're at the bottom of the row, so what we're gonna do now is go this way with single crochets as well. So just continue your single crochets and go this long way. This is gonna be the bottom of the mask. So we're just gonna continue along, and we're just gonna single crochet. Just like with the top that we did, the top of the mask, how there wasn't any specific holes to put our hook in, it's going to be the same for the bottom. You're not going to have any specific holes, so you just need to find the closest place where you can put your hook and just stick it right in there, and then single crochet your way down. So here we are almost done with the bottom. Couple more. And then we will be complete. And this is actually going to finish off the mask entirely. So it's a pretty quick project once you get the hang of it. Let's see here. Let's see, do I want to do one more? Yeah. So let's do one more. And then there we go. So that completes our mask. So let me go ahead and cut off this yarn. This end, this tail I'm gonna have to weave in. So I'm gonna make it a little bit longer so that I can make sure that I do that. And then this one, again, I can just cut this off. If you tighten it, if you ended up doing what I did and just crocheting over it, if you tighten it really tight and you just cut it and then you stretch out your work again, it'll be hidden. So we'll have to weave this one in, but that's it. So here we go. Here is our face mask with our ear straps. Again, they're very, very comfortable and soft. So if you have to wear a face mask, you know, you might as well be comfortable while doing it. So that's why I definitely like these. I'll go ahead and make a part 2 for you guys so that this video isn't too long. I'll make a part 2 showing you guys how to add the back filter, how we do the template and all of that. So just stay tuned for that. Make sure that you do subscribe and hit that bell notification so that once I do release that video, you can watch that one and learn how to add that filter on. But for right now, here's your face mask. Hope you guys enjoyed and thanks for watching. See you guys next time.